All right, thank you for staying with us. We'll now link up with Eshomomo Imudu and Tijesu Adeoye in our Abuja studios for the conversation around Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's allegation of sexual harassment. Good morning, Eshomomo. Good morning, Tijesu. How are you guys doing today?
Good morning, Veronica. Good morning, Brian.
Veronica, good morning.
All right, you can take it away now.
Yeah. Okay, our plate is quite full this morning, and let's give you what we have. Now, thanks for joining us on this segment of the program from Abuja. Now that the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions have adjourned proceedings on the alleged sexual harassment case brought against Senator Godswill Akpabio, Nigerians await the courts for its deliberations and judgments. But then, let's put the committee's last session in perspective. The petitioners had refused to be admitted on oath and consequently called for the committee chairman, Neda Imasue, to step aside, accusing him of bias. They had also frowned at how the Senate committee denied access to the lead petitioner, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, to testify, stating that she was in custody of crucial documentary evidence to support her claims.
And while the Senate's deputy whip, Senator Onyekachin-Nwebonyi, and a former Minister of Education, Oby Ezekwesili, may have settled their rift after the needless bitter verbal exchange and name-calling, have the lessons been learned of what truly constitutes leadership and service to the Nigerian people? And let's deepen this conversation as we engage with Mrs. Abiola Akinyode Afolabi, Founding Director of Women's Advocate Research and Documentation Center. She's also the lawyer to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, and she joins us live via Zoom. Okay, I understand that she's yet to join us, but we also will be joined later by the Senate's Deputy Whip, Senator Onyekachin-Nwebonyi, who also doubles as a witness for Senator Godswill Akpabio in the ongoing case. But before we have our guests joining us, look at the merits of the case and how it has all panned out. What is your assessment about this? Because I also have my reservations, especially from the investigative hearing and how it played out. But let me hear from your own side.
For me, I think that this case shouldn't have dragged this far, because if you take a look at it, it must have drained the lawmakers.
Of course.
And time for other issues. They have time for other issues. And I think also it has to do with how it's been managed, and also even the petitioner, how she's managing it. And I think that they should, since it's in courts, let's hope that the court will quickly adjudicate on it and we know the true situation of things. Our guest is online. Yeah.
Well, Madam Abiola Afolabi, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure, and welcome, viewers.
Thank you for joining us. Now, I'll begin with you now. As a counsel to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and a witness to the investigative hearing that turned into a shouting match, how do you think the chaos has impacted the merit of the petition being considered at the moment?
Well, I wouldn't know, because I would say that when we went there for the ethics committee hearing, we went in good faith to be able to address the issues that were raised in the petitioner's claim. But we had some preconditions upon which we would be able to make our testimonies on that day. But unfortunately, it looks like the committee had a pre-arranged plan, for us. It is a trite rule of law that you can't be the judge in your own matter. So one of the things that we had raised was the issue of the integrity of the committee. And I think that's been the problem right from the onset. Right to fair hearing, enabling people to be able to speak, truth to power. And that was exactly what we did. So if that would affect, anything, it's better to err on the side of the truth than to err on the other side. So it depends on what they want to do. And from my understanding on that day, they already had a copy of the court processes where Senator Natasha has been taken to court by Mrs. Akpabio, which was what they resorted to. So they came back on that day to say that since the matter was already in court, so it will be prejudicial for them to go ahead on the matter. So for us, we'd rather take that part of the issue. So it wasn't like for me, I think the case was closed. So it wasn't like an adjournment or that we're expecting that would be called back, by the Committee on Ethics. I think they had realized that they were not supposed to even take the matter, in the first instance. So that was what happened on that day. Well, it's right. The issue of Senator Natasha is highly controversial, but anyway, the law must take its course. So, and that's why every country is built on checks and balances. So there's separation of power. So the legislators can make laws and they can make their own rules, but their rule can never be above or ahead of the Constitution. So the judiciary also has a role. So when there is controversy, in between legislature and the executive or legislatures and itself, the judiciary should also be able, to determine the best way to go. So I think that, because also in and around the National Assembly, there are questions of integrity, how the National Assembly is handling the matter. So it's better if we then go before the court, to respond to the issue. We understand the politics of everything, but as a lawyer, I still have full confidence, in the judicial process. So that might be the best way to go. So we just do hope that it will be done as quickly as possible. So that Senator Natasha can do my work.
Yes, to them, the perception is that you came into the hearing with your mind made up that nothing was going to happen, and like you said, you can't be a judge in your own case. But Senator Natasha actually petitioned the committee, the Senate, and it was referred to this committee. So would you say she shouldn't have even petitioned the committee? She should have gone straight to the court because she brought the case before the committee. So the standing committee will have to sit because she brought the case before them.
We have a situation in the National Assembly. And for me, I'm first and foremost a human rights attorney, committed to ensuring that we have value-based leadership and a country that is good for us. So I have a different perception of this whole thing, and I think it's important for us to take a look at what I feel. We have a National Assembly that its rule, it's also haunting itself. You can see that there are a lot of issues happening within the National Assembly. After Senator Natasha's matter, there's been about 2 or 3 people also complaining, and then it became like a little bit rowdy, within the National Assembly that the person is not being heard and all of that. When we have situations like this, every country has a moment where you need to have your own reflections about your rules, about whether your rules is good enough, whether you need to do some reassessment of your National Assembly rule. Now, we have the Privileges and Ethics Committee that's supposed to investigate and also address issues of misconduct. Now, but we also are, and the way it is framed there is that if you are a senator, you are not expected to bring a petition before, the Senate, especially when the matter directly affects you. And I must say that while they were drafting that, maybe they were looking at matters that has to do with constituency, and other things, or maybe national issue. They were not looking at matters that could be personal, between, the members of National Assembly. If you look at the rules of National Assembly, there's no process for mediation when there are tensions between members and all of that. So the process is also not very clear on what you would do when you have situations of sexual harassment. I assume that the drafter never thought that in a space like National Assembly, which is the highest lawmaking institution of the country, that maybe there will be such allegation. So it is, you can see that the law did not take into consideration that. Because if it did, you will not expect that when someone is alleging sexual harassment, someone else should bring the petition on behalf of that person that's alleging. Sexual harassment is personal. You are the one making the claim. You are the one saying you are alleging someone else. You are the victim. So you want alleging someone else. So because if that law has taken into consideration that, they will not say that Senator Natasha does not have the locus, to bring the application by herself. So the beginning of the crisis was the person who is alleging didn't have the power or the authority, to bring the claim before the National Assembly. She had to get someone else within the constituency to come and submit that application. So the person we appeared for was a constituent member who had said, you have stopped my senator from doing our work. And there's an allegation that she's pushing. I have refused to be able to bring this application before you. I am bringing that application on behalf of my senator. Now, he then put in the affidavit to say, one of the ways to resolve this matter is to bring the senator to come and testify before your committee. Now, this is also after the National Assembly has barred Senator Natasha from coming into the National Assembly. So there is a lot of complication. So she can't come to testify. There is an allegation. Senator Akpabio has a lawyer, sitting, representing him at the panel. So if you look at the optics does not show fairness. So we had to raise that, as lawyers. I'm over 30 years at the bar. We have to raise, these are basic principles. So we have to raise that at the inception of the discussion. There was a senior advocate of Nigeria sitting there, Senator Mire. So we put that on the table to say, let's clarify this before we move forward. So that we didn't have, and when when they asked us to take the oath, to be able to go ahead, and we realized that they were going to frustrate us if we don't take the oath.
I'd just like to ask you a quick question, because we need to go on a quick commercial break. With all that has played out, do you think that in this case, the Senate should look at reviewing its rules? I just need you to answer me that quick question in 10 seconds.
Yes, they should. They should. There are contradictions. There are lacunas in their rules. So it's important for them to take a step back and take this in good faith, that there's something wrong with the rules.
All right. We'll still continue with the conversation, but that will be right after this break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Life is politics.
At break time, when my champ needs to keep going, he's going to need his favorite snack, containing calcium, iron, and fiber.
Milo Energy Snacks, snack of future champions.
Milo! Bye, Mom.
He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill.
And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with Germ Defense gives you protection. Raining season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's Germ Defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Life is politics. In Nigeria, almost every part of our lives is touched by the politics we play. Governance, legislative matters, the economy, security.
It's still TVC Breakfast, and we are live in our Abuja studio. We're still talking about the sexual harassment allegations made by the Kogi Central. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and we have joining us here in the studio the Senate Deputy Whip, Senator Onyekachi-Nwebonyi, who is also a witness to the President of the Senate in this matter. It's good to have you on the program this morning, Senator.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to know, what is the current status of the petition filed by the Kogi Central Senator following the fiery investigative hearing that we saw by the Ethics and Privileges Committee?
Well, thank you so very much for this yet another opportunity for us to clear the air on all these dramas being done by Senator Natasha and her cohort. In the first place, like I said in the first interview I granted here, there was no case of sexual harassment. What happened was that Senator Natasha's seat was reallocated, and probably before then, her committee, was reshuffled, just like other committees. So, being somebody who is there to serve her personal interests, she got offended and started abusing the Senate President. So, the petition, as it stands today, has been adjourned Senate because the matter is pending before a court of competent jurisdiction. And by our rules, when a matter is before the court, the Senate respects the court. So we believe that the position of the court should be superior to the resolution of the parliament, going by principle of separation of power. So, talk, they say, is cheap. It's cheap for you to put up an allegation, but when you are called upon to defend same, you will now know whether the allegation is true or not. Senator Natasha, before now, has been using this form of blackmail to witch hunt prominent Nigerians upon any difference she has with such people. The most popular is the case of Reno Mokri, the former essay to Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, our former president. She accused a young man of sexual harassment. But as God will have it, the young man on the said date of the sexual harassment was there in the United States of America. So when the man brought his evidence that he was not even in Nigeria, she had to apologize and pay damages to the man. I can name 3 instances. Even when she was in school, she did it to a lecturer. When she was caught, doing funny things in an exam hall, she tried to blackmail the lecturer. But upon investigation, it was discovered that this lady is lying.
Now, distinguished, we are not concerned about...
No, I'm trying to lay a background.
To establish the case that's on ground. So, what is the current state of that petition?
The current state of the petition is that the matter has been adjourned Senate. Even though our rule says so, but the committee wanted to hear them, to see, because the committee is an independent body that can summon anybody, including the Senate President. And that is why we are all there to defend the Senate President. And you saw the drama that happened that portrayed the fact that these people didn't come to defend their claim. They didn't come to prove their claim. They came to create content. You can see from the beginning of the proceedings, her petitioner was called, to add flesh to the allegation because they filed about 30-paragraph affidavit, trying to prove the sexual allegation. So when they were asked to be on oath, they refused to be on oath. Oby Ezekwesili refused to be on oath. Her lawyer that was talking here refused to be on oath. And she is a lawyer. She understands the meaning of being on oath. Because if you are on oath and you lie, you can be charged for perjury. So they know very well that what they are proving did not exist. And that's why they were very careful not to take that oath. Because if they have taken that oath and did what they did, by now they should be in prison.
Now, distinguished,
yeah.
Let me just come up with this. Part of your rules is that once a case is in court,
exactly,
you will not sit on that matter.
Yes.
It's also, people said that you got the notice, the court notice that the case was already filed in court, even before that day. Yes. Why did you have to call for that meeting? When
that
you knew
was,
the case? Let me just finish with the questions. Yes. I have 2 questions in one. Yes. Why did you have to call?
Let me take it one by one.
Okay.
Why we did that is that we cannot believe on hearsay. It was when the committee was served with the processes of the court that we met and said, okay, this is the position of the matter. The committee cannot rely on hearsay that the matter was in court. The committee was served that day. And we said, well, going by what is before us, we may not continue. But in law, at times we keep technicalities aside and go to the merit of a case. Even though a judge will say that by preliminary objection, a matter cannot go on. But to avoid doubt, the judge can still entertain the matter and say, supposing but we can't consider, supposing the court has jurisdiction to hear this matter, this would have been the position, but the court has jurisdiction to hear the matter. So that no party will say that the court is biased or they were not fully treated. That is why the committee sat and tried to hear from them, even knowing very well that we can't go further in that, but we wanted to hear them. So that the public, because What they are taking before the public is that the Senate committee don't want to hear the matter because the matter is true. The allegation is true. So, but the allegation is not true. I am a live witness. I was the closest person to Senator Natasha on the same date of 8th December 2023. I rode in the same vehicle with her, with the husband. I was in front of the vehicle. She and the husband was at the back of the vehicle. As a matter of fact, I'm a friend to the husband. So we went to Akpabio's house. Akpabio received us with his wife, with his children, and took us around and entertained us. We left. There was never a time the Senate President had private chat with Natasha. There was never a time Senate President held her hand and said what she alleged. That never happened. It's just a mere fabrication to bring down the image of the Senate President. And that is why people like us are speaking on top of our voice to let the whole world know that Senator Akpabio is innocent of all this trash. And Senator Natasha knows this very well. She knows what she's doing. But unfortunately, like I said yesterday, why we are fighting this matter to stand still is to stop this same woman from victimizing another Nigerian politician. Okay.
Well, Senator...
Not just because of Senator Godswill Akpabio.
Senator
but this is going to be her last bus stop.
You clearly lost your cool during that investigative hearing, and the video that has been circulating has gained traction on the social media and has attracted a lot of criticisms. As you reflect on your emotional eruption, do you wish that you could have avoided that altercation with Mrs. Oby Ezekwesili, and have you in any way reached out to her or her team, you know, to maybe mend fences?
How can I reach out to a very shameless and disrespectful woman?
Please, I'd like you to watch your language.
I know what I'm saying. How can you, a former minister, a leader of African leaders, women in Africa, will come to a Senate and point a finger on a sitting senator and call him a hooligan and ask him to shut up?
But the people argue that there must be better ways to have managed it.
You can't tell me how to behave.
But you are
it is an action. It is an action that brings reaction. Just like you are sitting now, I will say you are a hooligan. How will you feel? You may have a private character, but if you abuse me, I will give it back to you.
People believe that investigative hearing was presided over by chairman. You could have referred to the chairman.
Let me come. You cannot dictate for me.
The matter.
You can't dictate for me. I have my right, and I can't exceed my right. Do you understand? She was asked to put off her proof in support of her case. By the way, she has no business being there. She is not a lawyer. She is not a witness. And if she was one, she was asked to be on oath, and she refused. So when the presiding officer gave me the room to speak in defense of the allegation at the preliminary level, he said, will you shut up your mouth? How dare she say so?
You should have asked for the protection of
the chairman. You can't tell me what to do.
Okay, distinguished.
I'm a master of my mind.
Distinguished.
I'm a master of my mind. If she can address a sitting senator inside the Senate building that way, it means that her character comes into question.
No,
it means that, let me finish please. It means that she got to where she are by accident. It means that she has been pretending all this while. It means that she can also talk to her husband that way. And the husband is a pastor, he has to pray for her.
Yeah, distinguished. I think I will come back to you. Now, Mr. Akiode, are you there with us?
So, another ranting by the Senate.
Okay, yeah.
Again, yeah.
Okay, just take this question. Just you've listened to the distinguished and his statement about Natasha and what played out that day. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think I will first give him back in his own way, because I would have expected that after that had happened, they should have reflected. But you know, being in the Senate does not mean that you have the right intellect to be able to respond to the issues appropriately. And you can see that calling him a hooligan or a scoundrel was not out of place. If you
I'd like you to also watch your language, Mrs.
Yes, no. If you go to the National Assembly,
I'd like you to manage your language on the show.
If you come to a national television, you saw somebody like Dr. Oby, a shameless person, then that means the name they called you, she called you the right name for you. How dare you? Who are you? If you are a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, does that mean that you should not respect Nigerians? You should not respect Nigerians that have done so much for the country. You know, that's supposed to be respected. And point. We went to the National Assembly on that day. So every place we passed through, they were standing and honoring Dr. Oby Ezekwesili. Can you even get that kind of honor in the National Assembly where you are
packaged honor?
Mrs. Akpoti,
that is a packaged honor.
If you allow me to come in here, please. Can we maintain decorum on the show, please? Thank you.
Honor to whom honor is not due.
Distinguished.
She deserves no honor.
Mrs. Akpoti, if you can hear me, there are claims that the Senator Natasha Akpoti and her team are deliberately trying to misinform the public by claiming she was suspended due to her petition of sexual harassment against Senator Godswill Akpabio. Now, do you think the sexual harassment case and the issue of misconduct are two different issues? Mrs. Akpoti, I hear that you're back. If you can hear me, I was asking you that there are claims that Senator Natasha and her team are deliberately trying to misinform the public by claiming she was suspended due to her petition of sexual harassment against Senator Akpabio. Now, don't you think the issue of sexual harassment and the issue of misconduct are two separate issues?
Well, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Well, it's important for us to face the issue and the reason why before the Senate committee. The Senate committee had invited the petitioner who was petitioning on behalf of the of Senator Natasha, to respond to those issues on that day, and that was the reason why we went there. There was no other reason. It was not to discuss the issue.
So you are agreeing with? Are you agreeing with those that say that the two issues as two separate issues? That's what I want you to answer.
They're separate, but they are connected.
In what way?
To the extent that they are connected to the extent that on Thursday, the power that be in the National Assembly attempted to shut down, or silence Senator Natasha, and they walked her out of the National Assembly.
How do you say so?
The second day, that was what happened. It was in the National Assembly.
But she was out of order. We all observed that matter. Senator, please manage your temper. We all observed that matter. She was allocated another seat, and she refused to move to that seat. She was out of order. So how you say she was illegally walked out of the chamber? She still sat in the chamber till the end of that proceeding, even on the wrong seat.
No, but we had the Senate President right there. We had him saying that let us suspend him. Everything was on the...
But he was prevailed upon by his colleagues, and he still has that power to ask her to leave the chamber because her behavior was disruptive.
No, her behavior was disruptive because she attempted to demand for an explanation for why her seat was changed. And that's why when I started off, I talked about the need for us to take a look at the National Assembly rules. This must be done in a civil and civilized manner. For goodness sake, if I sit in a particular place on a daily basis, then I come at a point in time and you change my seat, do I not have a right to ask you, why did you change my seat? Why was my seat changed? And so what is the nexus between what happened on that day and what happened thereafter? Senator Natasha is claiming that. Our suspicion is that our seat was changed because there has been some issues between herself and the Senate President. And on that television show, she had made a public declaration of what was behind the scene. And I must tell you, I have taken several cases of sexual harassment, and I understand how it is. I have been a victim of sexual harassment myself, and I can tell you about 80% of Nigerian women have gone through that. Sexual harassment is one of the most coded sexual offenses. It can happen while you are there with your husband. It can happen while you are there with 100 people. It could be scratching of your palms. It could be anything. It could be eye contact. It could be jokes. So for the senator to come here and say he was there and he didn't see anything, he doesn't have to see. He doesn't have to see. It is not for him to prove. It's the person who is making the sexual harassment that has the onus to prove, because you are the one that is being harassed. So let's get that clearly, because I think there's a confusion about what sexual harassment is and what sexual harassment is not. So I am saying that. So the connection between both issues. So she had come to make the allegation to say, partly why I was suspended was because I was being victimized. And I was being victimized because there was sexual advances made on me, which I didn't respond to.
But she had already made that allegation after that issue of misconduct was noted. I hope you know that. I just need you to keep that in mind.
And what I am doing is to tell you that there is a connection.
All right.
And that the connection is that the point she's raising is that the allegation, she made the allegation because she believed that the reason why she was being targeted was because she has refused those sexual advances. And I think that that's what we should focus on.
Okay, I think the case is in court, so the court will look at that. But what I want to find out is, so far there has been this allegation of sexual harassment. And the other side are also saying that there has not been any proof brought out by Senator Natasha. Outside the verbal allegations, there has not been any proof that she was being harassed. Do you have any idea if she has proof, and why you're holding such proof from the public?
They are in court now. So when we get to court, we will bring the proof, we will bring the evidence. We can't sit here and say that there are no proof. So, and I heard the senator talking about a past, talking about some history that he cooked up as a past history. Well, let them come and tell us when we get to court. And we also tell them what we also know about the person that has been alleged. So, but the question about proof or not, when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it.
All right. Senator, I would like to come back to you. What is the mood of the Senate regarding the controversy and the allegation against the President of the Senate? Some people say that there is a quiet discomfort with the way the situation is unfolding and is widely seen as a dent on the reputation of the Senate. What do you have to say about that?
That is not correct. The Senate is moving on. For us, we'll put this matter behind us. But I'm just here to respond to them so that the public will not be misled. We are moving on with our legislative functions. We are not disturbed by this. Every senator in that chamber knows that Senator Natasha is a liar. We know that she's a serial liar because this made us to investigate her character. And we've seen that this is a woman that is in a wrong place. A person of her caliber shouldn't be in the Senate. And like some people were saying, that it will discourage men from supporting women into politics. But I said no. You cannot use because of one character and conclude that Nigerian women will not do well in politics. No. We must continue to support the struggle for women in emancipation, particularly in politics. And that goes to show also that we have to be very careful, that somebody is speaking eloquently does not mean that she's fit to represent the people. And I must commend the people of her constituency for taking the bull by the horn, by taking steps to recall her. We need a woman who will understand where she is. We need a woman that will represent the interests of our fellow women. We need a woman that can respect the institution. We need a woman who understands that being a senator, and nobody can harass you sexually. Instead, you are in a position, to protect the rights of other female, Nigerian citizens.
Distinguished, we had one of the of our constituents that's involved in the recall process on the show recently, and she said that there is no doubt that Senator Natasha was according to her, is a performing senator. Her only worry was that she, because of this 6-month suspension, she may not be able to represent her, and that is the reason why they want a recall. Now, but you are also saying that you want a woman, somebody who respects her people, who can represent the institution. Now, the question is, does the Senate, or do you respect women? Because people are saying this senator does not respect women, likes to talk down women.
We do. Remember, as part of the bill I'm sponsoring in the Senate, is a bill to enable women have right of inheritance over their father's property. I'm sponsoring that bill. I'm one of those senators that have been championing the rights of women. I have a foundation that caters for widows. Are you getting me? I build houses for them. Some of them were dragged out of their husband, their father's compound because their father has no male child. I won 3 cases on that at the High Court, restoring the right of women to inherit their father's property. I can make the case available to you. This lady says so, has she done something like that? What has she done for women? I have done something I can tell you. I've won cases in favor of women. I build houses for poor widows. I train their children. Over 200 children of widows are in my scholarship payroll. So, but for a woman to try to prove the impossible, to try to use her gender as a weapon against the men, that is why I'm saying no.
Well, Senator Nwebonyi, we have also seen some outreach made by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, so I would like to give her credit for that. But moving on, is it true that the Senate is considering additional sanctions against the Kogi Central Senator, Senator Natasha, largely because of the interviews she granted to foreign news agencies where she described the Senate as a cult?
When you lie against an institution like the Senate, beyond the shores of Nigeria, you are also putting the entire country into disrepute. So I believe that the appropriate body will handle that. But as an institution, being the Senate, we've taken our stand on her matter, on her violation of our rules, and we have sanctioned her in line with our rules. So we have no plan to review the matter.
Whether downward or increase?
No, we have taken a stand.
Now, also, have you also thought, the other guest also is saying that, why won't the Senate have a reflection? And consider some of these rules that are not in tandem with...
our rules are very clear. None of our rules is against human rights. It's very clear. Order 6 Rule 1 said the Senate President, the presiding officer, will allocate seat to senators. Well, Order 6 Rule 2, wait, let me get it. You say you can't speak outside your seat. Those rules, are they anti-human? Is it against your right? Even in court of law, as lawyer, I'm a lawyer, I've been in legal practice. When you go to court, there's no seat attached to you. Well, you sit where the clerk of the court will assign to you.
We're running out of time.
Even if a senior advocate of Nigeria, the clerk of the court
running out of time. Sit here. But Mrs. Afolabi, if you can hear me, just quickly, I need you to answer me this question before we let you go. Just for me to play the devil's advocate here, because a lot of people are still insisting that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has not provided concrete evidence to back up her case. If the court rules against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, should she apologize to the President of the Senate and also the National Assembly?
I am not going to say that the court will rule, and I have said it here. When we get there, we'll cross it. She's not frivolous in any way. She's a woman of her word. She's a very respected woman. She's a woman of courage. This attempt is an attempt to silence a voice, and that's why you see they are running helter-skelter. We have about 4 cases in court. They have gone to go and record her to file, begin a process of recall. The truth will let us know where we should stand as a country. We cannot continue to be in a country where women are silenced. We are all Natachas. We are all Natachas. The country has gotten to a place where we cannot allow this kind of process, to reign. Senator Natasha is not afraid to face the court. When we get there, the evidence will come out.
All right. Senator Nwebonyi, your final words.
My final words is that Senator Natasha should have a rethink on her falsehood and be a better woman.
Well, that's a fine place to leave it. We must thank you so much for your time with us on the program, Mrs. Afolabi Akinyode. It was nice talking to you this morning. And Senator Nwebonyi, it's a pleasure to have you on the program this morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, quite a robust conversation this morning. But just before we hand you over back to our Lagos studio, we'd like to send warm greetings to our Director on Current Affairs, Babajide Kolade Otitoju. BKO, we must say happy birthday to you, sir.
Happy birthday. Well, we call BKO, Ogani.
All right, that's it from us here in Abuja. It's back to you in Lagos, Veronica.
All right, thank you very much, Tijesu Adeoye, as well as Eshomo Moimodu, for that conversation right now.